Call this special finance committee meeting to order. The date is November 14th. The time is 1:03. With us today, we have Alderman Tolliver, Alderwoman Bade, Alderman Warman, Alderman Bug, and myself, Alderman Franco. Madam Clerk, is there anybody here from the public wishing to speak?
No, we do not have any public comment.
Okay, we'll go right into the agenda. It's first and only item is 23-0831. Review the proposed 2024 city budget, Public Works.
Hey, good afternoon. Ken Schroth with the Public Works Department. If you don't mind, I'd like to kind of do this the same way we have the last several years, where we'll highlight the 2023 large capital projects that we completed. Then we'll highlight a few of the 2024 proposed, and then we'll go into the decision packages. There's just so much going on. We tried to limit the number of slides. You might see that we've got 34 slides in here, but I promise I'll blast through them as fast as I can, but feel free to ask me questions as we go. So this year, we finally finished our march westward on East New York Street. Remember, we started this back on Route 59 decades ago, and we finished our last segment this year. Farnsworth Avenue Bridge, we opened that up, and you can see the before and after. The top shots are the 3 culverts that we eliminated and put in a proper bridge that not only lowered the floodplain, but also makes it easier to maintain. Trees can pass under and not get clogged up on those culverts like they used to. The access to transit grants, that's the east platform of the downtown transit center. We finished that up, and that was a great collaboration. Not only was it 80% federal funded, but the 20% local funded, we split that with the RTA. So we were talking 10% local dollars to get that thing done. And some federally funded resurfacing projects throughout the city. We just wanted to highlight a few of them: Liberty Street, Montgomery Road, and Edgelawn. Illinois Avenue at Randall and at Elmwood. Those were 2 traffic signals that we completely modernized and improved the ADA ramps. Downtown services through not only on in-house forces, but with contracted services. They did several things downtown. You could see the amount of brick they re-leveled throughout the downtown. We resurfaced parking lot A at the corner of River Street and Spruce. Repainted a whole bunch of handrail and replaced it, and put 32 new trees in. As far as utilities, another big year for utilities. You can see over 2 miles of water main was replaced. And what we like to do too when we do these, we not only increase conveyance through our water mains by putting in the proper size 8-inch and replacing some old 4 and 6-inch mains, but we also like to complete loops for water quality improvement, and we did a couple of looped water mains this year as well. 785 lead water service lines were replaced from main to meter this year. Great start. Got about 18,000 more to go. But it's a great start, and predominantly paid for with the $4 million of IEPA forgivable loans that we sought and received. Storm sewer extensions happened throughout the city. We did almost 6 miles of sanitary sewer improvements by lining soon-to-fail sanitary sewers. And then we also did spot repairs as well. And as always, we always knock out a bunch of our long-term control plan with 4 sewer separation projects. The Public Works facility is moving along. In 2023, you could see we brought forward to you, we designed, in-house engineers actually designed the site work, bid it, and managed the construction. All that site work is predominantly done now. And you can see that the precast panels are all tilted up. The foundation for the new salt storage facility is completed. And next year, we'll build the fueling station, finish the brine production building, and then hopefully, if all goes well weather-wise, maybe even move into the facility starting the end of December next year, probably more than likely January, February the following. Broadway redevelopment corridor. I'd like to say that the stuff going on out there now is the streetscape project, but you guys all know that's the utility water main replacement. Remember that water main is broken on us several times in years past, and thankful that we're getting that done now ahead of the streetscape project next year. We've got a concept plan in with IDOT just on geometry and we've been going back and forth with them and hope to get an approval for bidding that out early next year and hopefully start construction mid to late summer next year. River Edge Park, Music Garden Phase 2. You've seen us come before you for several of these contracts. In 2023, some of the things that we've taken care of, we ordered the new Jumbotrons. We installed some decorative fencing around that area labeled lawn. We also installed the concrete barriers adjacent to the park. Next up is to continue to work with an architect on the design of Phase 2. And then next spring and summer, bid that out and come before you with the construction project. And as you know, our construction timeline is so limited there, trying to work around the summer performances as well as Kindle in the winter. So we'll be juggling those restrictions as we come forward with those contracts. Now, real quick to go over some 2024 projects. This chart, really hard to see. You can see better on your iPad. The late Alderman O'Connor actually asked us to do this back in about 2009. He said, you know, a lot of these grants you guys do don't make it in the budget, and they don't. I mean, we've got our operating budget of about $50 million in this department that keeps our operations moving forward. We've got a capital program of $40 to $50 million that you see in the budget, but that's only the local contribution of our construction budget. The tens of millions of dollars in federal grants that we receive don't actually float through the city coffers, so it's not reflected. So we started doing this, and you can see over the last 17 years, we average about $10 million a year in federal funds that we seek. This year, the total came out to be about $5.6 million in additional funds that we've received. The yellow projects are the ones that are new. The blue projects are ones that we asked for and received additional funding for grants that we had previously received. And that's pretty common as we go through engineering. We find out projects are going to have to cost more, or the scope changes a little bit, and then the federal government steps up and helps pick up that 80% of the tab. So again, just it's a fantastic job from the staff. I can never say enough about the fact that these federal projects from start to finish take about 8 to 10 years. So when we apply for a grant, we're not even breaking ground for 5-6 years, and it's just a nightmare processing all this paperwork. And so, again, kudos to everyone involved for chasing these things and seeing them to fruition.
Ken, can I ask you a question? Mm-hmm. So when we apply for a federal grant, we want to do a project. As you said, it might take 4 or 5 years to get off the ground. We apply for the federal grant. How long does it typically be approved? And then is there an expiration that you got to get this project done by a certain time?
Yes, we do typically have to get it done by a certain time. However, with construction, there's always delays. And so those delays is just usually a matter of checking in with IDOT, who administers the contracts, and getting those time extensions. And majority of the time they're extended. But the trick is always making sure the projects are started in the time frame that you committed to IDOT, and that's what we really struggle with. Sometimes it's right-of-way acquisitions, sometimes it's IDOT approvals, but we have to get to a point where we can bid that out in that Phase 2 engineering period, so we don't lose that commitment from the federal government. Right. But then once we're in construction, the delays associated with it are usually easy to understand and get extensions.
Okay. All right.
The 2024 highlights. Here are the various funding sources that we use, as always, for our resurfacing program. You can see all the different values there. Indian Trail, Mitchell Road to Farnsworth. This is a federally funded project. And right now, the utility relocations are going on. NICOR, ComEd, Comcast, they're all moving out of our way so that we can start this work next year. And again, federally funded, 80-20 split. We even managed to get a highway safety improvement grant thrown in the middle of it at High Street because of the bike path. So just one compounded grant after another. Very thankful for everyone's efforts on that. The various federally funded projects beyond that are listed here. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but you can see some of them are going to be in Phase 2 engineering next year, and some of them are going to be in Phase 1. The next slide is additional projects, again, they're spread throughout all over the city, and they had to break it down into multiple slides. And the same with the next one, which includes Church Road, Illinois Avenue, Hankus. And then we threw in a bunch of the traffic and path projects on this slide. So Montgomery Road and Hill Avenue intersection, massive project. That's probably not going to get under construction until 2026, but we're currently in phase one. Hopefully we'll get most of the phase two work done next year. You see the Montgomery Road multi-use path. That'll be done in conjunction with the Montgomery Road at the Wisconsin Central tracks. And you can see what we put here was all of the values associated with each of these projects, but then take a look at the percent of local MFT funds. Again, can't say enough about, all the effort that it takes, especially, believe it or not, the Safe Routes to School projects. I mean, it is just mind-numbing how much effort it takes to go after a little bit of sidewalk money. Another item in the CIP for 2024 that's new, we just wanted to highlight, was the Power Line Underground Conversion Program. So basically, the concept here is that as the downtown expands north and west, you can see that intersection right there, the corner of River and in New York, we have a substantial amount of power lines above ground, and we'd like for the downtown feel to continue as it expands outward. And as you know, the rest of downtown, all of those utilities are buried. And so as opportunities present themselves, we'd like to have that money, kind of that seed money in there so we could work with ComEd and get these buried. New York Street Bridge, phase one, that's ongoing. Phase two will be next year with the goal of not doing any construction until after the casino is moved and demolition starts on the casino, so that we're not fighting for the same piece of real estate, their demolition crews along with our bridge crews. So we've got a little bit of time on this one to continue the engineering, but that'll be a lot of effort next year. Proposed utility improvements for next year. Long-term control plan, we have $3 million budgeted for that as we continue to meet our obligations with that. Water main replacement program, about $5 million budgeted for next year. In addition to that, we have the lead water service replacement program at about $3 million. Part of that $3 million will be the last of the 15% or the 15% remaining of the IEPA forgivable loan program. And so as additional funds become available through that program, believe me, we'll be keeping our eyes out for that, and we'll apply as the opportunity exists. Sanitary sewer rehabilitation, about $2.5 million. You saw, actually yesterday, those in the I&T committee saw the $500,000 project presented by Kurt Muth on televising. And so as the results come in for that televising, all the streets that we're gonna resurface in the next couple of years, the rest of that $2.5 million will go to making improvements to those sanitary sewers as needed. Some water production CIPs. The well house you see on the left there is a well house that's located at near Felton and Indian Trail. It has a deep well at it, very productive deep well that connects to a transmission main that brings the water back to the treatment plant for full treatment. So it's a very economical use of water and sewer funds to build a shallow well there as well and connect it into that same transmission line and get it back to our treatment plant. Also, Bob's got programmed replacement of valve actuators at 7 different filters. And then the picture on the right, and you guys have all seen the corrosion control treatment optimization study that we're required to do per the IEPA. And basically, we have to harvest our own lead service lines in the city, and we put them in those racks, and we have to flow various types of water through them to see what the best performance is as far as minimizing lead intrusion. So that study will continue for the next 2 years, and you can see the additional funding that's requested there. And this is a late edition of the CIP. You will not find this in your book. We actually got approval on this right when it was going to print. And so hats off to our traffic engineer, Rupa Anchanappa. She put an application in for, again, highway safety improvement funds. at the corner of Farnsworth and New York, and we just got the approval that we will receive the $676,000. The project's going to be about $2.1 million and will include all the things listed there, a great improvement for that intersection. And again, as we go into phase 2 engineering, we'll probably do phase 1 next year, maybe get into phase 2 at the end of next year. But as we get into phase 2 and we recognize and we hone in on the scope, we'll then be able to apply for additional funds to kind of close that gap and hopefully get that closer to the 80-20 split that we enjoy usually. And so that was the CIP, and we can get into additional questions on that at the end, but maybe we can just go into decision packages real quick, or would you like to talk about capital?
Does anybody have any questions right now? Alderman Donnell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hill Avenue and Montgomery Road is probably one of the busier intersections we have in the city. Any chance for roundabouts? I know there's some real estate there, some might be tough, but.
Yes, and that actually the real estate there is going to be very tough, and there's 3 jurisdictions there too. So to get 3 jurisdictions to agree on a new type of geometry, I think are pretty slim. What we proposed were massive lane improvements in every direction and new signals, and that's what we received the funding for.
Any roundabouts in our future?
Not at this time. You pointed out the exact very issue. Majority of the time, it's the right-of-way issues that cause the biggest angst. And but we're always open to them. We love the one at Highland and Sullivan for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Alderman Bade?
Thank you, Chairman. Could you briefly go over modernization of traffic lights? What does that mean? Is it more? Are they more energy saving or?
They are. If we haven't already replaced the signals to be LEDs, we do it as part of this program. But the biggest part of the modernization is actually a new traffic cabinet, all new hardware, new software, new mast arms, new LEDs. And then typically with it, we also bring it into our traffic management center, and we can coordinate those signals with all the others. And that's where the true savings to the public comes in.
And for installation, are they more cost effective or it doesn't matter?
It is when we get these federal grants. From a local perspective, at an 80-20 split, it literally saved us in the downtown and throughout the city. When we started chasing these federal grants, if it weren't for modernization, 100% of those replacements would have been on City of Aurora residents' backs. But instead, through this modernization and through CMAQ funding, typically congestion mitigation and air quality grants, we go through CMAP, get that programmed, and then that's where that 80-20 split comes in. So it's been a fantastic program. I think of our 100-plus signals, I think we've only got 2 or 3 that might still have to go through the program.
Okay. Thank you for all the great work, Ken.
It's the
Everybody
staff
in the
that-
team is very thorough with their work.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay. Alderman Toller?
Just a quick question. The intersection over there on Montgomery and Hill, does that project extend a little bit further east to that Farnsworth and Montgomery kind of area where it gets,
That's a great question, and we made sure it did. Yes, because it wasn't supposed to, but we were able to show that the tapers that feed into Hill Avenue push back to the east far enough to include that first intersection of Farnsworth, and then it was pretty close to say that it impacted the next intersection of Farnsworth. So we can't get federally past that next one very far, but that's where we might end up stepping in with local funds to push it a little further, depending upon what we're allowed to do in phase 2. But that is definitely on our mind, because that is a nightmare intersection. Right next to another nightmare intersection.
Exactly. That's why I drive past it every day. So
Yeah.
I'm just a little curious about that. That's good to hear.
So I just want to, because I think I know what you're talking about, because of the backup that goes that far east, way down. Yes, yeah, I would agree with that.
The problem there is one intersection, the south leg is IDOT, the north leg and the east leg is Aurora, and the west leg is the county.
Wow. All right, I think we can move on to the decision package then. Thank you.
All right, and then so this is just a chart that shows the organization of the department. I love charts, not as much as John Curley, but I love this chart because it shows, you can see the legend in the bottom left. It's the number of full-time employees across the department. The bottom left, the bottom right of that box shows the number of seasonal employees, and then the budget for that department or the division is the number in the middle. So it's a great quick way to see the size and of each department. As far as decision packages, first up would be engineering. What we did too for your convenience is we added page numbers next to each of the decision packages throughout today's presentation so you could easily refer to it. The very first one is a safety gap analysis. You know that we are under contract to do a gap analysis for all safety-related items throughout the Public Works Department. I mean, tree crews, dig crews, and then this gap analysis, safety consultant, when they come back to us, there will be, as always, to-do things, a list of to-do items. And so we're asking for $100,000 to start, like water production does now, because they had a safety gap analysis done about 5-6 years ago. And they, too, every year just implement additional improvements to the program. So that's what that decision package is for. And then you can see the staffing request for the engineering division after that. Promotion of an engineer tech 2 to a tech 3. That's because several of our engineers are managing contractors a lot, and as they do, we need to move them up the ladder per the job descriptions. Hire an entry-level civil engineer. The hope there is that we could hire an engineer that would come on board and then get some experience and then take that first 8-hour state exam. And then at the end of that 4 years of experience with us, then they could take that next 8-hour PE exam and then move up the ladder as well. So we just wanted to get some engineering talent in at the entry level and hope they progress up the ladder. The next two, again, we've been very blessed that you guys and the mayor's office has approved us for multiple positions to increase the headcount in the engineering department. As I said, the federal projects that we are chasing are just mind-numbingly time-consuming, and we need more people. And despite our best efforts, and HR has been doing a great job, and we've been advertising nationally, we've had very little success bringing people in. We're about 25% under where we'd like to be right now, but we're checking our emails every day, and we're coming up with new ways to try and recruit people. So one would be to upgrade 2 vacant PE positions that we've been advertising for quite some time, and then upgrade that to an engineer 2 position. And that way, hopefully, maybe we can get someone with that 10 or 15-year experience to come in and help us manage all these federal projects.
Ken, I got a question for you while you're on that, because we're jumping around here a little bit, because I know the first one was on 701, and then we're talking about some later on. So I think the one you just talked about is on page 711. It's the upgrade vacant professional engineer positions to professional engineer 2.
Yep.
So we got budgeted 47,000 the first year, 50,000. So that 47.1 the first year is split between the 2 of them, right? Is that how that's
Yes.
going to go? I just want to make sure. So basically, we're jumping up about 20,000 per 20-some thousand per person.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
And then I'm not sure when you're moving on at all, but if we go back to the 701, the description, all right, the public work safety improvements, $100,000 a year. Do we need to do that every year? Is that something we do every year? Because I know you just said something about the water division did one 5 years ago. So do we do it every 5 years, 3 years, 1 year? What's the case with that?
So the gap analysis, that probably only has to be done like every 5 to 8 years. But what really has to be done on an annual basis is knocking out that to-do list that they're going to give us. So for example, the safety consultant may say, all right, we reviewed your standard operating procedure for tree removal, and we suggest that you do this, this, and this, which might include training on this or documenting this. And that's what this funding would be for, to have that consultant help us. And then so once that standard operating procedure is completed, I wouldn't envision going back to it until the next gap analysis 6 to 8 years later. And then they look at it and say, hey, this still meets current standards, and you can stick with it.
So the 100,000 a year is as a result of a pre-existing gap analysis done whenever.
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
I just want to make sure I had that.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
And then also on the list, we have hire additional seasonal worker. This has been an outstanding program. Occasionally, it works out from a recruiting tool as well because a seasonal worker ends up becoming an engineer as they progress through their schooling. But it really saves us money because we've got a lot of our seasonal workers working with our water and sewer department doing our hydrant flushing and unidirectional flushing program. And that used to be done with a consultant. So instead of paying $60 to $70 an hour, we're paying $18 to $20 an hour. And then for all the same reasons listed above, we're requesting for the hiring of an additional professional engineer. Depending upon how the hiring of the other two professional engineer twos go, that position might not be filled at the end of next year or maybe even the following. But just knowing that we have that ability to hire someone gives us a lot of flexibility depending upon the candidates that we get that apply. Sometimes we're blessed to have more than one qualified candidate, and then we have a position that they can apply for. And the next slide is for electrical. They only had one single decision package, and that was to upgrade the light fixtures on the High Street and Farnsworth Avenue bridges. Scott's here to answer any questions you might have about his operational budget line items, but for this particular decision package, it's basically the first generation of LEDs deployed out there about 15 years ago, and they've come to their end of their useful life. I was kind of shocked when he submitted this, honestly, because I thought, hey, wait, why didn't we take care of this with the ComEd grant? But as you remember, the ComEd grants, when they came in, the grant value was based upon the value of the wattage of the existing fixture versus the wattage of the new fixture, and then they had this multiplier, and it was just simple math. So any LEDs that existed in the system, going from, like, say, 40 watts to 25 watts, wouldn't qualify. Where what we were doing for the last 10 years is taking high-pressure sodium fixtures at 250 watts and converting them into 40-watt LEDs. So that money, that delta was there so that we could do that at almost no cost to us.
Alderman Bugs got a question?
Thank you. I'm going to take us back real quick to the positions. On 710, there's just a little verbiage cleanup that might need to happen. Under the benefits of decision package, hiring a new engineering existing college.
I don't have that yet.
We just need to take out a word and I think add in another one. I'm not sure what the word is, maybe college student, college graduate, take out some other words. Anyway, you can
Oh,
clean that up.
existing, yeah.
Stacy can clean that up. On 7-Eleven, so with that position, so we've advertised it for quite a while. We haven't had success. Now we're pushing it to engineer 2. So, like, when we put it out there, what were the job requirements? Were they a 1 or a 2? And since we've gone over time and we have so many new projects, we kind of moved it to a 2? Or what is the thinking there?
So the credentials of the candidates weren't in that 10 to 15 year of experience range that could take a federally funded project and take it from beginning to end. And I did fail to mention too that what I'm really thankful for is some of the federally funded projects, like the resurfacing projects, our guys are doing in-house now, and that's saving anywhere from 10 to 15% of the total construction value because we're doing that in-house. And we're not going to get that out of a new grad. We're not going to get it out of even someone with a 5 years experience, someone who really knows the IDOT system, because that's all this has to filter through IDOT and be approved by IDOT. We really like to find candidates that have that experience in the private sector. And we're finding that that's kind of in that PE2 price range.
Okay. So when we put it out there, we were thinking 1, but with so many projects and basically the complex of the project are thinking we need a PE2 now.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
That was it.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Lash.
Thank you, Chairman. 2 questions, one on High Street and then one just to follow up there to Alderman Buggs. Have we ever looked at, we do spend a lot of money with HR Green, have we ever looked at what it would take to bring more of our work in-house? I loved hearing the in-house of our surfacing. That's probably a relatively simple, but I'm just curious what that would take if we've ever considered it?
Oh, absolutely. We've considered it. It's just, and we've been fortunate that both the mayor's office and the council have given us, like I said, we got 25% vacant positions now, so we can only handle the design and the management of so much with that 75% of our workforce. And so as we get that talent on board, we will just do more and more. That's what I love about this job too, is that we can sell candidates on the fact that when you come on board, there's some things that we are just going to farm out to a consultant because you would prefer to do this. There's no shortage of deciding what we bring in-house and what we farm out. It's just we're at a capacity level.
Okay, and then on High Street, I think I drove by and there's like a big chunk of concrete missing. I'm going to take a photo of it next time it was near dusk, but while we're doing the light repair, if there's work needed there.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I will move on. We can move on.
All right. And if there's no questions on electrical, I'll hand it off to Bob Lively.
Good afternoon, Bob Lively, Water Production Division. We have 4 proposed decision packages for 2024. The first one is door access control and video monitoring system upgrades. Approximately 10 years ago, the Water Production Division proactively spec'd out and installed our own camera system and card access system with the help of the IT department at that time. And so we already have that technology in place. However, as you probably know, the IT department is standardizing those systems with Genetec. So this decision package, or perhaps it would have been a CIP, I don't know, the IT department actually submitted it and prepared the cost estimate, but they will be changing over our system, our facility commander, card access, and our milestone cameras to Genetec with this proposed package next year. The second item is in the middle picture there of the water treatment plant. That's the back of the plant. It shows the roof and the 3 lime silos. That's where we take chemical deliveries of calcium oxide. You can see the three pipes, or the individual pipes that get the chemical up to those silos. Those pipes are 30-plus years old, and they've had numerous, they're carbon steel pipes. They've had numerous repairs and spot repairs and things over the years. And so we've identified that as a need to replace those completely from scratch. And to your point, we'll be designing it in-house by our manager of water system engineering. So there's no consultants involved with that project. No pictures on this one. The Fox Valley East Booster Station, that's a 30-year-old plus membrane roof. We're looking to replace that next year also. And then lastly, the right-hand picture, the 4 yellow pumps you see there, it's not a big ticket item, but those are very critical pieces of equipment in the treatment process. Those are sodium hypochlorite chemical dosing pumps, and we're just looking to replace those with more modern, newer equipment.
Questions? Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Good afternoon, Mike Houston with Water and Sewer Maintenance Division. So I have 4 items to propose for decision packages. Oh, there we go. So the first item is that strange-looking contraption to the left. That's actually a cleaning nozzle that attaches to the front of our sewer machine. So the Water and Sewer Maintenance Division is responsible for the maintenance and cleaning of approximately 1,200 miles of sanitary combined and storm sewers. Cleaning sewers and inspecting regularly via camera systems will minimize the potential for sewer backups and help with decision-making for repairs for damaged infrastructure. The cleaning of the city's sewers is crucial to ensure they're operating as designed. The second item is a hydraulic submersible pump. So these are mainly used in emergency situations for dewatering main breaks, sanitary repairs. Having reliable pumps and backups are important for timely repairs and restoring utilities for city ratepayers. These pumps are also used to dewater minor street flooding when our larger pumps aren't needed. The third item is radio detection locators. So water and sewer is responsible for performing locating services for the city's below-ground water and sewer facilities. State law requires the city to accurately locate its facilities when requested as part of an excavation activity. So locating technology is always changing. So our current fleet of locators are past their prime. Some are needing repairs. So the newest locators will ensure we are locating accurately and will minimize hit utilities. And the fourth and final item is an additional 6-inch pull-behind diesel pump. So during flooding events, water and sewer is tasked with pumping water from roadways, ponds, and other flooded areas. So these specific pumps move high volumes of water. So, and this will help us provide a better response during flooding events. Water and sewer currently has a fleet of 5 diesel-driven pumps. So this additional pump will help expand our coverage throughout the city during events. Ideally, it'd be nice to have 100 of these pumps, but that's not realistic all the time. So, so I think having a healthy fleet of these 6-inch diesel-driven pump is essential. With that, any questions?
Questions to the committee? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Tim Forbes from the Street Department. I've got, they got the list up there. We got, the first one is training for lines clearance. This is something we just started this year. We had about half our staff go through. This helps get our crews certified to work closer to power lines, considering we're running 3 or 4 tree crews. A lot of times we were having to stay farther away from the trees, couldn't complete it, then you're waiting on ComEd to come out to finish the tree or even do the whole tree. Now we have the capability to do it ourselves in-house and get them done quicker. So it's more of a safety concern than anything else, and we'd like to continue that training with the guys. Number 2 is the sign shop budget. We're finding materials have increased greatly for what we spend to up the mast arm signs, any of the signage the city's asking, the special events, stuff like that. And we want to do a lot of upgrades, so we're looking to basically double that budget. We finished all the school packages this year, so now we want to go on to mast arm signs. If you'll see them, some of them are starting to fade out. It's just time to start going to the city and cycle through and replace the ones that need to be done. Third one we have is a light tower. A lot of times we're doing storm damage and stuff like that, where we have to go out and work and do tree work and stuff like that at night, or we'll have special events. Right now, we're just using spotlights is all that we have. It's just basically like a 6-inch light. This will make it a lot much safer for our crews and for the special events the city has if they need that. The gravel spreader, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Alderman Buck, go ahead.
Does EMA have one of those?
They do.
Yeah, that's
They do. A lot of times they could be out during the same event though for a storm, and usually they're going to be with the fire department helping them out, and so that really leaves us. So as far as the city goes, it's got to be a lot cheaper than what it used to be, you know, so it made it practical to ask for one
Sure.
at this
Oh,
point.
no, we need more than one. Just good to know that they're spread out.
The next item we have is replace the gravel spreader. This is how we put the gravel along the sides of the roads. The one we have now is it's over 20 years old. It's been welded together numerous times, and it's just to a point where it's just not a usable piece of equipment anymore. So we're looking to replace that so we can continue the graveling program on our shoulders. The Permaline card is next. This is what we lay your striping on your roadways with and stuff like that. We have one now. It's at its life expectancy. You're pushing a lot of heat through these things, so they start warping over time. So we're looking to replace that so we can continue that program and keep the striping going. We just supplement. Engineering does a big program, but we do a lot of the smaller stuff in-house so that it doesn't have to be on their list. We did increase our workforce over the last few years, and we're just looking for vehicles, so we've asked for an additional 1 ton. We're struggling with trying to find vehicles. There's not many vehicles being rotated out of the fleet. A lot of times you'll grab something Water and Sewer's getting rid of just to use it for the summer before it goes to auction. There's just not any vehicles out there to grab anymore, so we're all running them longer, and they're not useful by the time we get rid of them. We're looking to get an additional vehicle. I was lucky enough, everybody here gave us an assistant superintendent of streets. I just need to get another vehicle. A lot of times I could be in one location, he needs to be somewhere else, but we don't have a vehicle for them to do it. So a lot of times we find ourselves using our own personal vehicle if we can't find something else. Last one was for you got two more left, sorry. We're looking to get a labor supervisor. We were lucky enough to get this approved last year, but we utilized that position to help when we split our divisions up. We're just looking to try and get that position again. Street department is growing over the years, so we don't have enough supervisors to manage the people and the requests from the public. So we find our supervisors now are sitting in the office over half the day. I don't need them there. I need them to be out on the streets. So if we can spread that workload, it'll help get them out on the streets and more. And I think I had one more too. Confidential secretary, we're just looking to upgrade her. Originally, we were one big division that was together and we split up. So now we just have one secretary that's handling all the duties versus being split up between two. We're just trying to compensate her for the amount of work that she's doing versus what it used to be, to try and make it, we don't want that person moving on to another division because they can make more money in a higher position. So, any questions from anybody here?
Questions?
Yeah.
Alderman Buck.
I'm gonna ask you to spend some money maybe. From your description there, in the future, maybe next year, and maybe this was a decision package that was denied, do you need two secretaries there?
Correct. We have requested one, but it didn't make this year, so we'll try again next year, so.
That's what I thought.
Just going to add, so long-term, we'll have most of these divisions all in the same building when we finish the building at the end of 2024, beginning of 25. So there'll be some additional assistance in the same location. The engineering will be there, streets, as well as water and sewer. So depending upon the need for, the public that comes to that building and versus the administrative responsibilities of all of those divisions in one location, we might not need to put the request in next year, but.
Okay. So maybe just some cross-training and then, since we're all there together.
Yep.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, a quick question.
Alderman Lash.
Just like to say on that vehicle for the assistant superintendent,
Yes.
if you look at EV or hybrid options, I'd be thrilled. Thank you.
We actually are. We've got a Lightning coming, pickup.
Kick ass.
Unfortunately, it's very, very slow getting it, and we're going on about 2.5 years to get something we ordered, but we're going to give it a try and see how it does in the winter months, so.
Thank you.
Tim, just for the record, when we talk about electric vehicles and stuff, because I've done some research on this, and I know that people want to get into that, there are some vehicles that, if they're electric, they just can't handle the tonnage, the weight, because it's not ready. Have you found that as you look for vehicles, especially like on fire trucks or big dump trucks and stuff like that, that we're not ready for that yet because they can't do what we need them to do yet? Have you found that in any research, or Ken, have you?
Just from what I've read, that seems like a thing. Right now, it's more in the smaller market. They are starting to get in your bigger markets, but they're looking at longevity and all that. Do I think we're going to get there 5 years or 10? Yes, I do. But I mean, I don't know that we're there yet for what we're trying to do. One of the things we're concerned with, and that's why we're starting with the Lightning now, we want to know how are they going to do in the cold, considering a lot of times we might work 16 hours, but if it's a dump truck or something like that, that may run 3 days straight. What do we do for a charging system for something like that? How fast can we charge them? Because unfortunately, I'm running multiple crews, but I only have so many vehicles. So, you'll run that for 16, and then, the Alderman, you're going to come in and run it for 16. Well, how do we keep that truck charged if we go to a fleet like that? So, but they're getting quicker with the charging system, so maybe that's something that's doable in the future.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think we're done with that. Thanks.
Good afternoon, Abby Schuler, Downtown Services Manager. The first item here is a proposed fence to enclose the 339 Middle Avenue property. That property, the Plan is for Downtown Services to move to this property once the new facility is prepared, and the electricians would then move on to the central services, or to the new central garage. The next item is the overlay of parking lot H, which is the one that is behind, well, it's at New York and Middle Avenue. It's behind the Hobbs Building. So that would be a complete overlay for that decision package. Next item would be Riverwalk railing replacement to continue with what we've done even in the past. Next item, widening the sidewalks in the central business district. It makes it much easier for us to clear the sidewalks if the sidewalks are all to at least a 7-foot span. So we've been working to expand our sidewalks just for walkability and the ease in cleaning them and the safety of downtown.
Maybe I got a question on that. So see, there's $20,000. I know how much sidewalks cost. I don't know how much it costs to widen them. It seemed like that was a low amount. But is that okay? The $20,000 going to get it all done?
It wouldn't get all of them done that we
Okay.
need to downtown, but we
Right.
have been working on it over the years, so we do a little bit each year. And actually, the 20,000 for just an expansion does go quite a bit farther than putting in a whole new sidewalk.
Yeah, I wasn't sure maybe how much we were doing, but you're doing segments, I guess.
Yes,
I mean, just portions of, okay. 'Cause
yes.
I thought 20,000 was low. I'm like, wow, that's great, but I know what sidewalks cost.
Oh, yeah. So we have a few areas left to go that are feasible to do, and actually very pleased with this amount.
Yeah, follow up on that. Thank you, Abby. Can you tell us what sidewalks, your order of priority, kind of where we're headed?
I'd have to go back and reevaluate what we're going to do next year, but for this year, we expanded the ones over by Glasshopper. We expanded the ones up, it's Galena towards Lincoln Avenue, kind of by, up the hill there, that
Okay.
way. Expanded a little bit on River Street around some curves that the brush just doesn't get to, and it just completely ruins the grass, and we spend a lot of our springtime just filling in these ruts. So the next expansion area, the other one we did was up by the old Foremost Liquors. That was a tough spot that we always had to get through. So we have a list of them, so we just evaluate what's the priority in the next coming years and what's really feasible for us to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next one is a downtown waste collection. It would be to support the hiring of a contractor when we need extra help in collecting some fly dumping or managing some of the garbage corrals that are expanding in the downtown area. We did rely on Property Standards to do this in the past, but because of their budget changes or budget constraints, we're asking for our own amount of money to be able to hire this out. And lastly is a upgrade to one of our staffing positions from a maintenance service worker to a maintenance service 1 worker, which gives us a lot more flexibility in what that person can do with the downtown.
Any other questions or comments? Alderman Lash?
This might not fall under your budget, but the concrete right there at the Paramount sidewalk that from underneath seems to be falling, is that something that falls in your budget or something else? I figured again.
Is that, yeah, the promenade? Okay.
Yes, so we've been working with the mayor's office in ACA. We sought state funding through the DCO to repair the promenade. The promenade is actually owned and maintained by ACA. And so we've been working with them. Our engineers in-house have been working with a consultant. We've got the design pretty much ready for ACA to start bidding that. And the mayor's office and the CFO at ACA, I think, have gotten the grant to a point where they're going to be able to bid that this January and start the project spring of next year. And that'll go from Galena to Downer. Yep.
Alderman Bade?
Abby, does the flowering and plantation come under you
The flowering in the
downtown area? The
downtown, yes.
amazing job last year. All the flowers, roses, and the sidewalks, everything was very beautifully done. So any changes Any new plans or any additions to existing?
For next year, well, of course, we'd like a color change in what our hanging baskets and everything is. We like to kind of mix it up a little. Anything coming forward, we look for the new additions on Broadway to expand. I'm not sure if we'll get that in next year, but I think there is some features along Broadway that we can kind of work with and improve in that area. So we look forward to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Eb.
All right, well, thank you. That's the report out from all the divisions, so I guess I would just open it up for any general questions that we might be able to help you with.
Any questions or comments from the committee about anything? Alderwoman Bade.
Any updates or plans or anything about the sidewalk near Mattia, Stonebridge?
Our in-house engineers have done the estimate based upon what we had contacted the county and found out that is on their bike path system. And so we've done an estimate now to show the county both the cost of a bike path versus a sidewalk for the entire stretch from the entrance of the subdivision to Mattia. So we just have to meet with the county again and see who would handle that project, since it is their right-of-way, but then we'd have to work on some kind of IGA with them. So that's kind of where we are with that.
So maybe a couple of years,
What's that?
at least a couple of years, because I don't see it here, so.
Yeah, no, it's not in here yet because it's early on to decide what the cost share is going to be and what the demands are going to be of the county as far as what has to be built there. So we didn't want to speculate and show a number, so we need to talk to them.
Okay. And any updates on the study that we did on Bilter and DuPage Parkway?
Yes, our traffic consultant finished the report, and we've been struggling to find a time, especially with the holidays approaching, that she can come in. The goal is to have her come in one more time, and we've been working with the mayor's office to find that best time to bring her in, where she could report out to preferably COW, so it would be a 5 o'clock start, report out her findings at 5 o'clock, and then we would set up a public meeting out on the far east side sometime in that 6:30 to 7 p.m. range, so that those of us who can attend can bolt out there and discuss it with the public.
It was a very good session.
It was, yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
Thank you. We're waiting for that.
you bet.
Can I have a question on their street maintenance division? Tim, you may want to talk about just the performance measures.
What was the question?
So it's under the performance measures under street maintenance. I saw, like, for example, right-of-way trees removed, budgeted 700 this year, but we had 208 actual estimate. A couple other ones we had budgeted high, and then the actual were low. And then for 2024, we budgeted the same amount, even though we were doing lower. So I'm just trying to figure out why we budgeted high, and then we actually did low. So when we go to 2024, what are we basing it on? The actual or the budgeted? Because there's a couple of them that were fairly low compared to what we budgeted. So I wasn't sure how we got to the high numbers again in 2024 on a number of different things.
We're hitting the numbers where we want as far as getting to that budgeted thing. When we're turning those in, those are for what do I have done at that point in time in
Okay.
the city.
Okay.
Depending on what we're doing, we could be in a trimming cycle, or like right now, we're moving into our removal cycles.
Okay.
So our removals will be way low because we only do those in the early spring. We're actually end of the winter, basically, coming into spring, and we'll do them in the late fall. So the last month, we've probably taken down, I'll just say, 1/4 of what I have in that, saying that I'm going to do.
Right.
That being said, the other thing we're still looking for, I'm still hoping that we're going to get these bucket trucks in. We increased our crew, we increased the equipment, but our struggle has been is getting bucket trucks. We were lucky enough to get an electrical one that we were borrowing. It was one of their trade-ins that was going to auction, but unfortunately, we're waiting for that to get repaired. It has some hydraulic leaks. We're hoping that's fixable until that new one comes in. It's been almost 2 years just waiting for equipment to come in. It's been a real struggle, so.
So for my edification, when you say estimated actual and you do this thing in September, it's up to September. It's not like, all right, we did this September, we're projecting to the end of the year, so that's why the numbers are lower. 'Cause we're not
Correct.
taking the last 3 or 4 months into consideration.
Correct.
That would make sense. I thought we were doing like all right, we got this far, we, probably by the end of the year, we'll have this many,
Yep.
but you're actually doing it for that point in time.
Correct.
Okay, I just what, that makes sense of why we're not getting into those numbers. Okay, that's what I want to know. All right, thank you. Any other questions for anybody from engineering? Alderman Lash.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for, I watched the resurfacing on Fifth Street because I live right there between Alderman Masiacos and myself, and the team did an outstanding job getting in there every day when there's no traffic, handling no parking, and it came out looking real nice and everything.
I would
so.
like to take credit, but that would be our engineering division, so.
And, and then the only other question I had, sort of a big picture, I heard Alderman Donnell mention the traffic circles. I know Alderman Seville brought it up. I do wonder, I'm not sure what grant Alderman Seville was referencing while discussing those, but it does to me warrant consideration depending on the situation, perhaps looking at what it would take to buy up a property or two to gain the right-of-way necessary in some instances, if it makes sense. I'm not a professional, so I don't want to speak on that, but I've heard repeatedly, and I also know that there's been a lot of traffic safety reviews that show that they're a safer way to control both speed and accidents. So that was just a feedback thought. Thank you.
So Ken, I want to thank you and Public Works. Every time you guys give us these presentations, reminds us of how much you guys do for the city, above ground, below ground, with the water treatment plants. It's quite the educational experience, and every once in a while I get reminded of that. It really puts things into perspective, and a nice presentation today, very easy to follow. So we do appreciate all the hard work you guys do, and how intricate and important it all is. So I appreciate it.
I really appreciate the staff does too, and we appreciate your support to give us the equipment we need. You guys have always supported us. The mayor's office has as well, and it's a 24/7 operation. These guys' phones are blowing up every day, weekends, 365 days a year. So I mean, it's quite an operation, and I'm thankful for the staff that we have.
Well, that's good, and I guess they're ready to run for alderman then, if they're
Yeah.
going all the time. Good for them. So again, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there anything else to come before the Finance Committee today? Second. Hearing none, we have a motion by Alderman Bay to adjourn, second by Alderman Warman. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And we are concluded at, what time is it now? 2:00. Thank you.